Hi everybody! So this is Jasmine's diagnosis appointment update. And yes, we did get a diagnosis, finally, but there's a lot more to the story than just that, so I'm going to start from the beginning. So the beginning of the day, we went in to meet with the same psychiatrist and caseworker and a student. A student was there, like, learning, I guess, how the process works. And so those three were there, and they basically just went over the stuff that we talked about in the last appointment. If anything had changed in the last 3 weeks, to let them know. And the only thing that had changed is a continuing thing that's changing is her transitions are getting worse and worse. So transitions meaning when she transitions from playing to eating, or eating to playing, or playing to bedtime, or eating to bath time. Like, any change is a transition. It's really hard for her. She freaks out. She throws herself on the floor and screams. And we can't really tell why it's happening. Like, sometimes it's fine, and other times it's a big deal. So that's what we told him changed in the last 3 weeks, was her transitions. And they played a few little games with her, and they were watching her a lot. Like, she was in a much better mood this time around. So, and they noticed that. They said, I'm seeing a lot of difference in her this time around. And I explained to him that she wasn't in a good mood that day. She probably had a tummy ache because after that appointment she had a big poop. So, and then she was in a great mood. So she probably had a tummy ache and she wasn't feeling good, and it was just not a good situation last time. But this time she had a great night's sleep, everything was fine, and she was happy. So they got to see her be happy. And so after like talking to them for maybe a half an hour, asking some questions, again, like the same questions. I guess they're just wondering if the answers will change. Nothing's changed. All the answers are same. All the answers are the same. All the questions are the same. And we got all that out of the way. And the psychiatrist played with Jasmine a lot more this time. He interacted with her, and she was responding well. And they brought out bubbles. Like, they remembered that she liked bubbles, so they brought out bubbles and played with her with that, and that was really good. Anyway, so then they sent us out of the room for like 20 minutes. So we had to go back to the waiting area and just wait while they all discussed their stuff. And at that time, the speech language pathologist and the occupational therapist joined them, because last time the afternoon appointment was with those two people. Well, they joined them to get all their findings together and spoke for about 20 minutes and called us back to the room. So when they called us back to the room, it was basically they were going to tell us their findings and tell us a diagnosis. So we're sitting there in like anticipation, and the first person that spoke was the speech language pathologist. She told us all the good things that Jasmine did. It's good that she did this. It's good she did that. She was able to do this. She was able to do that. I can't think of an example right now. What they hid the toy. Like, they had a toy, and then they put a blanket over top, and there's 2 blankets, and she could pick the one where the toy was under. So that was good. She listed all the good things Jasmine did. And then she told us that even though she did all those good things, her level was about 2 years behind. So she was doing things that a 12-month-old would do. And some of the things that she did fell under what a 6-month-old would do. So she is really behind. And it was the same thing with the occupational therapist. She said the same thing, that she was about 2 years behind. And it's good that the things that she could do is really good, because, you know, they don't just want to hit us with a bunch of negative information, but she's really behind. So then they moved on to the psychiatrist, and he said that in order to have a diagnosis of autism, you need to have a problem in the communication, the behavioral, and the social aspect of your life. And since she has such great eye contact and she has great social smiles and she will engage with you and smile and laugh and seek me or Emad out, he's not seeing autism in her social behavior. So because she is good at being social, he didn't want to give her a autistic diagnosis. So there's also a PDD diagnosis, which is pervasive developmental disorder. And there was one aspect in that diagnosis that didn't fit her. So she doesn't fully fit in autistic, she doesn't fully fit in PDD. So what they gave her was a diagnosis of PDD-NOS, which is a blanket diagnosis that covers autism, like the parts that she really is like autistic, and then the PDD, like the parts that she does have a developmental disorder. And it's the PDD-NOS diagnosis is pervasive developmental disorder not otherwise specified. So that's the diagnosis she got. And they did tell us that the format for how they diagnose autism is changing next month. And if we were at this appointment next month, she would be diagnosed as autistic. Because what they're doing to change it is they're either taking out the social part or they're mixing the social part in with the other two areas. So there'll only be 2 areas where you need to have problems in instead of 3. So next month, technically, she will be autistic. So I thought that was kind of stupid. But they did give her a diagnosis of PDD-NOS, which is also known as atypical autism, and it is an autism spectrum disorder. So it's kind of tricky because autism spectrum disorder she has, but she doesn't have autism. So I look at it like this. Here's the umbrella, and the umbrella is autism spectrum disorder. And underneath this umbrella, there are 5 disabilities. There's autism, Asperger's, PDD-NOS, and 2 other ones. So PDD-NOS is one of the autism spectrum disorders. So we could call it autism spectrum disorder, we can call it PDD-NOS, we could call it atypical autism. Either way, people know about it. It's a known disorder to the autism community. So with that diagnosis, we get so much more help than if we didn't have a diagnosis at all. So they do want to see her again in 10 months. So in 10 months, we're going to go back and get reassessed. And at that time, in my mind, I think in that time, she will be diagnosed as autistic. But you never know, because he wants to see her with 10 months worth of ABA training, which is the training that we get with this diagnosis. So that is her diagnosis, and it's just a big weight lifted off our shoulders that she has a diagnosis and we can get her help. And we've been on this waiting list for preschool resource program for quite some time, and they just called me like a couple days after that appointment saying the wait list is up and you're next in line. So they're going to come over and for a screening evaluation on her, and if she has problems in 2 of the aspects of their format, then she qualifies for preschool resource program training. So that is really, really good. Like, that's going to start, and then hopefully if we're eligible for the ABA training, that's like 10 hours of schooling in home. So that's really good. So like all this help is going to start coming in the next 10 months. She might be a speaking child. She might be a perfectly normal child. I mean, like a mother could hope that she'd be like all fixed and better, you know? But you never know. But she might be a completely different child in 10 months. So when she goes back to see them again in 10 months, they'll see her progress, and they might leave the diagnosis the way it is, or they may make it autism or whatever. But in my mind, she's autistic because they're changing the format of what qualifies to be autistic next month. So he told us that next month she would be autistic. It's just the format, you know? So that is the update for that. So this is the end of our journey until we have to go back and reassess her. And by the time we go back and reassess her in 10 months, like it won't be very much longer until she's in kindergarten. So that's crazy. Thank you for all your love and support and kind words in your comments and everything. It really does mean a lot, and I read all of them. And if you have any questions, please ask them below. Keep watching if you want updates on Jasmine. And Wasim's birthday party is coming up, and there's a lot more exciting things coming up. So keep watching, and I will see you all guys next time. Bye!